Well, here's a shop tour and cost for my 40'x64 shop. So, it just got finished the other day. Last thing was electrical. Just run around the outside quick. I only have 4 windows. They're like a 2x3 window, 3-foot wainscot. This is the back of the shop. Just a door, 1 outlet, and spotlight. I have 1-foot roof overhangs all around. Sorry for the wind. So this side, on both sides in the front, I did soffit lighting, and I'll show some photos of that at night. But it's real cheap to add, and it really adds to the aesthetic of the building. Makes it look pretty expensive and high-end compared to, you know, just an old machine shop. So in the front, I still have soffit lighting, and then I got a big spotlight up here that kind of floods outwards. Got a 14-foot tall door, 16 feet wide. Big enough to get all the good toys in. A couple outlets on the front for plugging trucks in at night. So my colors, I did white trim, white overhangs. This is like a rustic red. You can see on these guys' website. It's not bright red. It's kind of hard to tell right now, but a little rustic, a little older. Got a gray wainscot, and the roof is gray, which you can't see because it's so high up there. These are 16-foot walls. Let's go inside. A little packed full of stuff right now. It's a little dirty. Been working in here a lot. Still working on organizing things. I need more shelving, and got to put a shop fridge in this corner, of course. Before I forget, I better mention the apron. So there's a concrete apron, 40 feet wide, 20 feet long. Still got to do gravel to bring it up to the level, but get that done eventually. Got to do a lot of dirt work around here still. But on the inside, 40'x64, 16-foot wall, side walls, obviously concrete everywhere. Got a French drain in the center. That is a must. The floor slopes down to it. There's a garage door on the inside. Got a nice opener. It's only like 3/4 horse lift master, but that's all you need. Fuse box over here. The electrician and the shop builder work together, where the electrician comes in before they put these panels on, and he runs all the wiring for everything, so it comes out really clean. There's no exposed conduit, and the exposed conduit really costs a lot of money. It adds up. So this is cheaper, and it looks better in my opinion. Lighting, I have 6 UFO LED lights. These are only 14,000 lumen a piece, but it really lights up this shop. Of course, having bright white interior panels for reflection helps. Got a lot of vehicles packed in here right now. This can fit 12 vehicles when you space them together nice. Right now I have them kind of spread out and not as close enough to the walls as they could be, so there's a lot of wasted space right now. But as you see, where the concrete relief cuts are, you can fit 4 vehicles wide, and you can do 3 deep. Well, 3 normal size vehicles. 5'10" doesn't count, but that's what I'm talking about, wasted space with the Corvette, and you just get it closer to the wall. But you can go 4 across and 3 deep if you just wanted to store vehicles. I planned this to basically store vehicles on the complete outer edges, including the sweeper. I could fit 2 short vehicles here, like 2 Broncos, before I get in my workbench area. This side I can fit the 5-ton Corvette, and that's kind of about it, because the 5-ton is 35 feet long. But I kind of organized it. So long-term storage is in the corner, hard to get out. 5-ton doesn't move in the winter very much, but next to it is kind of a project space where you can do small, easy tasks on trucks. Obviously, this spot is for the lift where you do more hardcore stuff. And since the lift is so wide, it kind of intrudes into this corner of the shop, which is totally fine, and I planned it out this way. Right now it's kind of full of junk, but this is where all the workbenches are and toolboxes. And it's nice because that way you don't have a car in your workspace, and all your tools and benches are organized in one spot, not spread out all over the shop. That way you maximize efficiency for storage by having all your walls clear on the edges. I was planning on doing a second level back here with pallet racking or something for basically part storage, but then I started setting up my shelves, and as long as it's organized, I really don't need the room right now. I have only 3 rows of racks here, but it's holding everything I need so far. I think the best thing in the whole shop is this Red Bull rack. This is an old Red Bull rack from a gas station for cans, but it holds spray paint cans perfect and keeps them really organized. Back here, I still gotta figure this out a little better. Right now, there's a lot more stuff here, and engine lift and just a bunch of junk. My car lift is sitting on pillars. The guy who built the shop also did the concrete, which was nice. So he drilled 4 feet deep pillars. I think they're about 18 inches wide, whatever was on his Bobcat, and marked where the pillars are. And you don't have to do this, but it definitely doesn't hurt, and it's cheap to do it while you're pouring the concrete. So keep my lift from tipping over. This is a 12-foot tall lift, by the way. The electricians wired it nice with conduit, and they even put a switch on it, which you're supposed to have just in case, I don't know, the lift starts running away or something. You can cut the power there instead of having to run all the way to a breaker panel. I don't know what else to say about the shop. Still working on, moving in. I've only been in here a little bit, and my projects have been kind of taken over already, but this is where I store some of my house junk, Christmas ornaments and things like that. Overall, really, really happy with the size of this. Of course, bigger is better, but bigger costs a lot more. This is already way over my budget that I planned on because, everything costs more these days, but adding 20 more feet to this would have been at least like $50,000 probably. Gotta have a drain, because when you're pulling in the winter, your cars can melt off, and if you don't have a drain, then you'll just have puddles of mud everywhere. It's nice having these interior panels, because if you did need to wash this place, you can pressure wash the floor and pressure wash the walls. So this shop has blow-in insulation in the ceiling and in the walls. So in the ceiling is like 1.5 feet or whatever of blow-in insulation just blown up there. But the walls is also blow-in insulation, but it's packed in there. So what they did was they lined the walls with plastic sheets, and then they cut into them and put the insulation in and then packed it down and just kept packing it until they got to the top. And it's about 8 inches thick from, panel to exterior panel. So it's really insulated better than my house. Can't remember the R value he said it was supposed to be, but it's pretty ridiculous. It was at least in the 30s, if not higher. I don't even have a heater in this shop yet. There's supposed to be radiant heater going down the center, but I don't have a propane tank yet, so I haven't bought one. But it's been negative 20 out, and in here it still is above 30 at all times. I think just a little bit of sunshine comes in and helps. For the cold days, when it is cold and I want to work on stuff for a long time, I do have this crappy little heater for now. It's only 50,000 BTUs, but you turn that thing on for a couple hours and this place is in the 70s and you're boiling. Of course, the garage door is insulated also. So the concrete is just 4 inches thick everywhere. Some of the gravel, dirt work and prep I had to do, I made sure I did it right. Because my last shop that someone built was done wrong. So what I did was obviously made a smooth pad in the soil. And then I laid down landscape cloth the whole width of the shop and past it. That makes it so your gravel doesn't pack into your dirt, or if moisture is introduced, they don't start mixing and then settling. Basically, it's cheap, it's a no-brainer, and it will severely reduce settling and sinking when water is added to the mix. See a bit, some landscape cloth here. So I did that like 100 feet long. It's under the apron in the front, and it's like 80 feet wide. Then I did base course gravel. Costs a little more, but it locks in better. And I had these guys come water it and pack it and smooth it out and do it right. I think I ended up using 400 tons of gravel, which seems like a lot because, well, I really only needed 200 tons, but my dirt work was a little off, so I have a lot more gravel in the back than I do in the front. And obviously I went a little extra wide and went pretty thick on the gravel too. It's I think at the minimum it's at least 6 inches thick up front under the apron, but that just helps ensure that it doesn't sink. Still a lot of dirt work to be done though. Eventually I'll cut this corner out and have retaining walls, but this is gonna be so I can pull a truck and trailer through the side of here. This will all be gravel. I still need to trench in my French drains. Obviously I need more gravel here. Right now I have a combination of gravel and boards. That way I can drive my Corvette up in here because that angle is too much. But yeah, I'll show you some night photos of this thing and then we'll go over the cost. So this is what it looks like at night with all the soffit lighting. Well, the phone makes it look a little bright. Turn the brightness down, maybe that'll... This is kind of what it looks like in real life. So yeah, I have 18 lights, 6 down the side, 6 in the front, and then 6 down the other side. These really help light up the outside of the shop and make it look a lot nicer than not having them. These are just LED lights, can lights, as you can see. Definitely cheap to put in there while you're there. But it lights up around the shop really nice. I don't have them in the back, just the front and the sides. But that's what it looks like at night. Nice and lit up. So the top, that's just kind of the quote. It was a 40 by 64 by 16 with 2 walk-through doors, 16 by 14 insulated overhead door with opener, 4 windows, 1 3-foot cupola. I don't know how to say that right. Cupola, whatever. 3-foot wainscot, 1-foot soffit, blow-in insulation in the ceiling and walls, white liner panels on the walls and ceiling inside, and 4-inch concrete interior with a 4-inch 20 by 40 concrete apron. Now this building was manufactured by EPS Buildings out of Iowa. They have a website right there, and they do all sorts of buildings, all sorts of colors. They shipped them on 2 semis, everything already pre-built all the way to South Dakota. This was engineered with blueprints to withstand 115 mile an hour winds, and I think it was 50 pounds snow load, or maybe it was 100. I can't remember. Whatever was required from my county. But they will build it to spec to hold your snow loads and wind loads wherever you may be. So the material was $71,398. That included everything you needed. It included the laminated columns, all the metal, windows, 2 walk-through doors, and most of the wood is cut to length. The only thing they have to cut is the columns. Now these are laminated columns, which are 3 2x8s that are screwed together, and the bottom 3 are pressure treated. So obviously they're 8x8 columns basically. Insulation, blow-in insulation we got from local Menards. It was $8,800. Interior concrete was $17,000. Concrete apron was almost $5,000. Together that came out around $6.50 a square foot. Exterior labor was $16,640. Interior labor was $14,000. That included probably installing the insulation and everything. Overhead door was $7,000. There was a $1,200 install fee that is not on here for that overhead door. Electrical quote was $13,000. That included trenching from my telephone pole all the way to the shop for a power supply, fuse box, soffit lighting, all the outlets I wanted, all the interior lights. Gravel and dirt work was around $7,000. Like I said before, this really only should have needed 200 tons of gravel, but since my dirt pad wasn't exactly perfectly flat, I ended up going with 400 tons of gravel, and I spread it, wider than the shop. And this was base course. It was around $12 a ton, I believe, and then, trucking fees. So that added up to $7,000. That included the guys that were here packing the dirt, smoothing it out, and all that, and all the dirt work before the gravel. Post concrete was $1,200. That stuff is like 4,000 or 5,000 psi. It's a little different than your other concrete, a lot stronger. And then the tax. Tax wasn't too bad. So in total, I have fully built shop for $165,000. Now this doesn't include the heater that I still need to buy, but that's only $1,500. So you could do this a lot cheaper for sure, or it could be a lot more expensive. It really depends on your area and when you're building this. It's 2023. This was built in 2022. Materials were pretty high. They're going down a little bit, but cost of steel is going up even though wood is coming down. So this really, really varies, but I see all these videos where people ask and no one ever tells them the price. They're like, well, it varies so much. Like, yeah, I get that, but I still want a ballpark of what it would cost to build a shop like this. Obviously, I spent a lot more doing things like full interior, full insulation, soffit lighting, soffit panels, overhangs, wainscot, all that. You don't have to do all that, but I wanted to because I wanted this to look like an old barn, but modern. So there you have it. Here's my shop. And that's the end of this video.